I'm literally in an all-day webinar.
You have something happening, so
My my camera's there.
okay.
Yay! Thank you, Abby. Have a great day.
Take the rest of it.
Counselor Nordyke, we are live.
Okay, so
Counselor Nordyke, I'm gonna
Yes,
put you
I'm
on
present.
mute.
I'm present.
We're having a delay.
How do you
Pause
do
that. Just pause it.
Okay.
There you go.
Great.
I'm here. Can you guys not hear me?
We can hear you just fine. We were hearing an echo. It's my fault.
all right.
No worries.
Thank you, everyone. I'm calling to order the Legislative Committee for August 22nd, 2025. Will the members please introduce themselves? Counselor Gwynn and Counselor Nordyke, would you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Deanna Gwynn, Salem City Councilor, Ward 4, and I am almost there.
Oh, wonderful.
Vanessa
Thank you.
Nordyke, City Councilor, Ward 7. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Linda Nishioka, serving as alternate, but filling in for those that are not present. Would the lobby support like to introduce themselves?
I would like, hi, this is Courtney, and I just want to make sure everybody knows our Summit Strategies team would like to be here, but I told them not to be here because we're really focused on the state session and the transportation topic right now. So I was trying to save them time, save us money, and we're just talking today about the state session that's coming up.
Wonderful.
So Justin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Justin Martin with Perseverance Strategies.
Thank you. And would the staff like to introduce themselves? I'll have just that way we can roll around this way.
Hi, it's Rob Rumnack, Parks Planning Manager.
Sarah Long with Urban Development. Juliana Douglas, Climate Action.
Josh Davis, Chief Financial Officer. Julie Hanson, Transportation Planning Manager. Jason Bully, Public Works.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
We have a couple online.
We also have some people online. Thank you for doing that. Mark, you're in the upper left corner, so go ahead and start your introduction.
Sure. Mark Weinstein, Deputy City Attorney.
Jessica?
Jessica.
Jessica Blakely, Salem Housing Authority.
And then I have Ryan.
Ryan's there. Ryan Zink.
Ryan.
Good morning. This is Ryan Zink
And then is
with
it
Budget and Franchise.
Nicole?
Good morning, Nicole Holmes with Perseverance Strategies.
Great. Thank you very much for being here. I believe that concludes all the introductions. We're now to our agenda. We don't have any minutes to approve or anything like that. And so we are now to discussion, and I will let either Courtney or Justin take off.
I think what we'll do is hear from Justin, and I'll just let those that are online know that we recently sent out the League of Oregon Cities brief on the special session for the transportation budget framework. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that that's publicly available. Justin, do you want to lead us off?
Great. Well, thanks, Courtney. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of council and staff. Good to see everybody. As Courtney mentioned, we are specifically just going to look at the state special session, which is dealing with transportation funding. And thankfully, Julie is here with us today as the expert to go over some of the details of that. That being said, I'll note a few things and then we'll move on from there and probably end with a discussion on what we do in terms of advocacy going into this short session. Also want to thank both Julie and Nikki in my office, Nicole Holmes, for hours and hours of sitting through League of Cities transportation funding meetings and trying to get a sense of what is coming. So with that, Madam Chair, the logistics of the special session are only one chamber will be open at a time. This is going to be the House convening on Friday, August the 29th, and then the Senate convening on Monday, September 1. So you would hope, or you would guesstimate, I guess, that one chamber will pass something, the other chamber will come in and pass that and get that to the governor's desk. In terms of that, as everybody knows, the Capitol is under construction, so that's part of some of the difficulties with those logistics. Moving on, the legislature will then hold a hybrid hearing Monday, August 25th, and the building will be open for public access, but it'll have really limited capacity in or near the hearing room. And for folks that have been in the Capitol during these last few sessions, it's very narrow. It's very claustrophobic. It's tough to get in and out. You only have the single door on State Street to do that. But if anybody was wanting to testify, or if we were going to do anything, you can certainly do that remote as well. But as with all my clients and with any city council elected officials, if somebody wants to do that, or we decide as a city we are going to do that, please let us know, because we will try to work you either into panels with the league and or try to get you so you're not just sitting in a panel or on the same time with John Q. Public, which again is fine, but again, you guys are elected officials, so that's a little different when it comes to how you testify. So that's number two. Number three, I've heard some rumors that the Oregon Trucking Association is now on board with this package. Sounds like they're trying to simplify the weight mile tax. Again, Julie probably has some more on that if we need to hear that. And then finally, it looks like the environmental community is also on board. They had some concerns about electric vehicles and reductions in participation of their commercial EV program. So it sounds like those issues will come back in 27, but for now, it sounds like those two big interests are okay and supportive of this bill. As I mentioned earlier, the league is working to finalize panels to testify. I know somebody from the city of Portland, they've been talking about, it'll have a regional focus. They've talked about small communities in the Willamette Valley here, and others who have been helpful in testifying in the past. And then finally, obviously the league is asking for members to share support of the package in whichever way we can. So Courtney and I will discuss that after we get through with this meeting today. So with that, Madam Chair and Courtney, those are kind of the overview. I'll hand it back to you, Courtney, and then I think we'll hear from Julie on where we're going next or however we want to work that.
But first, are there any questions from any of the members about the logistics? This is all coming together very quickly. And so I want to make sure that there are no questions from any of our members.
None from me.
Thank you, Councilor Nordyke.
I'd like to ask you both. Do they expect that they're going to make a decision within 2 days or possibly 3? Is that the plan?
I think so. I mean, I think the governor asking for, what is it, Julia, September 15th hold for the agency not to lay anybody off. I think they really want to accomplish something in these 2 days. How much influence we can have over this at this point, I don't know much, but we need to be supportive of our delegation, and one way or the other, I think something's going to go.
So I think that was all.
Excellent. So Julie, do you want to walk us through, I think the debate before you is whether we want to take any specific or detailed action. We do have a policy statement that could cover any city action if you want to weigh in support of the measure. So the question is, do you want to get into the details? We're going to share them with you. But the question is whether you want the city to weigh in on any of the specifics, or just generally be supportive of coming to an agreement for transportation funding that mirrors our policy statement. So that's the question.
As we already have policy statement.
We already have a policy statement that we as staff feels kind of covers the city so that we can be in a supportive position. However, the devil is in the detail, and we'll go into the detail now. And if you wish to have a much more specific position, that is the open question today. And
Thank you for clarifying.
If the legislative committee wants to advance a more detailed position, I would put it on as an agenda on an addition for Monday night. So we have the technology. We can make this happen if you want to have a more specific statement advanced by the state. Okay, Julie, what are we talking about?
So I handed out, I believe this is from the governor's office, a special, it's fine. special session budget, transportation budget framework. And it was also emailed out to the counselors online. And so this sort of gives a high level overview of the 91-page bill.
Sorry.
Yes, originally I was planning to send this out in advance, except for that there was a different version from August 7th that got replaced by this on Wednesday. So, you know, as we were getting ready to send the package out, suddenly it was like, oh, there's a new version of the bill and it's 30 pages longer. So I didn't really want to send out something that I didn't know what the difference was. So, you know, I'm not going to go through all the details. If you go to the second page of this, it highlights the main revenue generating components of the bill. The bottom line, I guess, is that our policy statement, which is rather general, supports diversifying and increasing transportation funding focused on operations and maintenance of existing infrastructure, and with the continued sharing of the state highway fund between the state and local and, you know, jurisdictions, both counties and city. As you probably know, most of the roadway miles in the state are under the control of local jurisdictions, not the state. And so that's sort of a big part of that reason for sharing, and it's been a long-standing practice. This bill does continue that sharing, and that is, you know, crucial to our support. With the revenue projections from this, we would see at Salem, they're projecting that we would see an increase in our state highway fund allocation in 2027 of about 32%, and then about 30% in 2028 and 2029. We would see an increase in 2026, but closer to 18% because it's not starting right at the beginning of the year. And if you remember from the budget committee presentations and various presentations that we've had with this committee, our transportation fund is 70% of the funding in that fund comes from this source, the state highway revenue fund. And it's on a downward, you know, slope. Basically, we're eating into our beginning fund balance every year, and that's without increasing any of our service levels. And so we end up in the red in year 5 based on our current 5-year forecast. So this, you know, increase would be very helpful to the city. It would allow us to have some increase in our level of service that we can provide, and it would also stave off that downward slope. Now, there would still be a downward slope, and one of the messages in from the league is that this really needs to be considered a short-term fix because it does not fix the structural issues with the fund. And so, you know, and that's true. Now, we are not in as bad of a position, I guess I'd say, as ODOT. Largely because when ODOT over the past number of years has made increases in the state highway fund, the legislature has simultaneously earmarked a lot of that revenue for the state and told them you have to use it on this, and this, most of which are not operations and maintenance. Our portion of the 20% that ends up coming to the cities has largely gone to operations and maintenance. So we're on the same slope, just a little bit behind the state.
Julie, can I just
Yes.
interject for a second? Like,
Yes.
I think part of what, just contextually, part of what I think we should all be aware is that the package is continually evolving, as Julie's just illustrated. What was August 7th versus last Wednesday, things are continually moving. And Councilor Nishioka, as you were curious, how are they really going to pull this off in 2 days? What we see today as the proposal and what comes out in this really tight timeline may be different, which is sort of why I'm challenged by getting too specific in a recommendation. It feels like it's only as good as it is in this moment, maybe. And so I think the reason why I like the policy statement, the guidance, is that it tries to continue to secure some revenue, right, for the city, keep that sharing model and it could advance or make things good. I mean, I would love to talk about 32%. And I don't know if that's gonna be the
Right.
right marker
Yes,
when it's over.
right. It could go down. I wouldn't be overly surprised, but I think that the key points, if we were choosing to step forward and testify, would be, supporting this as a short-term fix to this funding crisis in operations and maintenance, and not solidifying, but only giving our support if there is that sharing of the revenue, using that 50-30-20 formula that has been in place for a long time. I'd say those would be our two biggest issues: is increase and share. And I think that those have been pretty well hammered home, but not to say that we couldn't continue to do that. So
Excuse me,
yes,
Julie,
yeah.
if you don't mind, Madam Chair, I don't think it ever hurts, again, in a legislative context, to Julie's points about the first two, nice and general, and that never hurts to say what we need and what our needs are in the city. And we've got a nice document that outlines that. So again, don't ever be afraid to let folks know what we really need and to use that as an example, especially with our delegation.
Yeah, because I mean, we had that presentation with
Senator
Patterson, where Mark Bechtel sort of did an abbreviated version of the presentation that had gone to the budget committee back in January, I think. So yes, we have needs, and we really appreciate this push for funding. It's not just about the state, it's also about the city of Salem. There is also some funding in here for transit, which does, it is something that the city supports. While it doesn't directly come to us, it is important to our community to have a viable transit system. And so this helps advance that. That's probably a slightly lower issue in terms of our own sort of personal self-interest, but in terms of our regional community, that is also something to emphasize.
So I'm sorry, I'm just gonna go ahead. To your point, Justin, will you or Mark or someone be going from the city to be testifying and maybe to go over this, or are you just hoping that this will be somehow reminded to them? Is that?
Yeah, I think to Courtney's point, that nice general statement, to Julie's point, sharing, everybody should get that when we talk about that, and then specifics to our delegation. So I think it's important for us to communicate internally to Representative Anderson, Patterson, Mannix, everybody, what our needs are in the city. So they have that information going in if they intend to give us floor speech, or if they intend to talk, which I would imagine in this short abbreviated session, people are going to try to get things on the record.
Okay, yes.
So, I mean, and that is one of the questions about, we have this general policy statement, which I think is good. We do not have a statement that says, we, the city of Salem, specifically support the legislation as written on August 13th, and I think that's okay. I don't really think we'd want to be that specific because, like Courtney was saying, it could change. So, our key points are revenue, sharing, and then the short term, this doesn't solve the structural issues. We can look at that downward slope, or it just pushes it out, but it does give us some opportunities to increase our service levels, which is really important.
Thank you.
And so with this statement itself, we, the city, could submit testimony, a written testimony that would support some outcome that gives us these things that we've sought. Justin, you specifically spoke to, the we in your statement is are we asking individual counselors to start lobbying on this topic? I don't know that we need to. We have the league in a really good position. We have a bunch of other assets. I'm not sure that we need to.
I don't think we really need to. That being said, again, if people have really good relationships, if our council has really good relationships with our delegation, I don't think it hurts to call and reinforce the statement. And say, hey, we do have these needs and we appreciate you advocating on the city's behalf. And I think that makes sense.
Okay. Are there any questions? I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the screen. Counselor Nordic, did you have any questions?
This all sounds like an effective plan to me. Just email me what our generalized policy statement is. I think you've already done that. And that is something I could simply forward to the legislators that I know well, saying, yes, do this, please. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not interested in creating my own talking points. I'm very interested in always speaking with a united voice whenever we talk to our legislators about the city's needs. So if you give me the talking points, I'll make some calls or forward the content to the legislative staff or both. I'm sure that they, again, because they are in such a compressed time, I don't want to get in the way of this process. They have no time at all to create a transportation package that didn't happen during the regular cycle. And so I think some gentle nudging and just speaking generally to our priorities makes perfect sense under the compressed time frame we're in.
Thank you. How do we want to proceed? How do we support you?
Do you have any comment? No. I would, to Councillor Nordike's statement, I would be also in favor of contacting. I know that Rep. Anderson is coming to the neighborhood associations. He'll be at Cessna with me on Tuesday night. So if there's something specific or just general, I certainly can talk to him then, but I could also email or call my other representative, which is Senator Patterson. So I could do that. And just so they hear from us.
Okay. Julie, do you have anything else you want us to be aware of in the package as it stands this moment?
Nope. I guess I just want to, again, emphasize that it doesn't solve it. It is still short term. Yeah. I mean, like I said, for us, it probably puts us, out to maybe, I didn't run beyond the 5-year forecast, right? But, you still have the downward slope, but we're still in the green at the end of the 5 years. So maybe, maybe it's 7 years, maybe it's 8 years, something like that.
I think the important thing to note is we're not maintaining the roads at a satisfactory level. So even this wouldn't quite get us to adequate. It would just get us to, hey, we still have money in the fund at the current service level.
Right. And over the last, between like 2019 and 2023, the percentage of our roads, let's see, we had a 20% decline in miles of streets with good pavement condition, so it's not going up. And I don't think this would not reverse the trend. It might help us be a little bit more stable, maybe not go as bad, but yeah.
I would also like to add, I think it is helpful for us to convey this statement because I can't speak for my other counselors, but one of the most frequent constituent emails I receive has to do with the quality of our roads and our sidewalks. And having to tell folks that we don't have unlimited funds to create the traffic signals that they would like, to the pedestrian crossings they would like, the speed bumps they would like, and so on. I think it's important to show to our constituents that we are advocating for our share of the pie, that we are making sure that legislature knows where we stand on these issues during this critical special session. So I think it's important that when I interact with my own constituents, that they know what we're doing to lobby for our needs.
I have maybe not necessarily unrelated, it's related. Do we know if the county is also supporting this? I'm just curious because we all get a piece of the pie. I'm wondering if you're aware of any statements or support.
I have not heard anything specific, but it's probably because I'm not listening.
The I know the Association of Oregon Counties is heavily engaged in this process along with the League of Oregon Cities. You know, they both are. So I don't know specifically to Marion County or Polk County, but their advocacy organization is.
Thank you.
And they will also see a benefit to this continuing.
And
Yes.
And so you mentioned the 0.32%. So I'm just curious as to the breakdown of percentages, if you're hoping that will change, or I thought I heard something about 32.
Well, so no, I mean, basically what we did is we took the numbers that they published on the August 7th version.
Okay,
Okay, I don't think it's a significant change, but we took those numbers and it basically shows this is what your allocation would we predict would be without this bill, and this is what it would be with the bill. And so it was about a 32%. Let's round and let's just say about a 30% increase in our state highway fund revenue for the 3 years that it would be fully in place. But you know, all of that is based on assumptions. It's assumptions about how much people drive. It's assumptions about how many cars people buy, about, you know, a whole bunch of different things.
but we get 20%.
So the way the allocation works, so 50% of the fund, after they take off some at the top for various things, 50% of the revenue goes to the state, 30% goes to counties, and it's divided based on road miles. And then 20% goes to cities based on population. So, you know, so as our population grows, you know, we might get a little bit more, only if other people's populations get less, you know.
Thank you for clarifying, because when I heard 32%, I thought, whoa, you know, is somebody else getting less? That's what I was trying to understand. You're just saying that the increase of revenue.
Just for us, based on their estimates, which is very important, given that it's 70% of our, you know, fund for transportation.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think too, Julie, the other thing that I'm mindful of is that as an organization and as a council and as a community, we've been really focused on our general fund as the, you know, really big problem. And our friends, folks, colleagues in transportation have been really patient while we've been working out that bigger question. And it's still a problem. I think I want to take away from this conversation that even though it's great that there might be an agreement and we might see more revenue, it doesn't change the fundamental flaw in the structural problem with this revenue source, which is sort of unfortunately a theme about revenue in general for local government. So at some point, we, the council, the community, may need to have a bigger conversation about how we're going to step in and change that level of service, assuming that what we're doing today isn't satisfactory.
Yes, and to Councillor Nordyke's point earlier, we all get a lot of communications about transportation. And so you're right, we get communications about the general fund and what we're doing with it, and we get communications about transportation. So they really are the ones that the public are really
right.
At some point, it would be great to be able to solve some problems.
wouldn't it?
You know, unfortunately, you know, this additional revenue, I think that, like Josh was saying, you know, basically it will allow us to sort of keep from like totally falling apart, but it's not going to do like suddenly we're being able to say yes to all of our residents' requests and service level demands. You know, we'll be able to keep at what we're doing, maybe do it a little bit more, but we're not going to be suddenly, you know, some really flush city. We, you know, and at some point we, like Courtney alluded to, that we, the council, may need to be talking about additional city revenue sources to support, you know, to add into that pot.
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking, wouldn't it be lovely if I had a little flow chart of revenue, where it comes from and what it pays for, so that, because people get very confused. They think the city's, you know, is or that the general fund is paying for the speed bumps that are gonna go on, you know. this street or that street, and kind of nice if we had a little flow chart so they could understand that we're waiting for funds from this, or operations fee supports this, and that I can lead to that.
We've done that.
It'd be nice to,
In the business, we call it sources and uses.
there you go. Well,
But I'm pretty sure we have a master map, and it might have been in a recent budget and brief.
Yeah, I mean, we usually do something like that in the budget and brief. I would actually take it one step back. It's like, oh, what does the county do? Chariots,
yes,
state, because I think
yeah, yeah.
there's been some interesting things that have been confusing lately. So
Yeah, I think it would just be helpful even when we're communicating with our citizens, they're asking us questions. Because it is hard,
Well,
it's a
and
hard.
one of the things that I heard earlier in the legislative session, one of the stated reasons that the transportation package did not pass was that there were some legislators who felt like local jurisdictions should be, bringing more of their own resources to the table for transportation. And there are, many cities, I can't remember now how many, that have a local option gas tax. We obviously do not. I know Eugene does, Portland does. There's a number of smaller cities that do. But one thing that we actually did is in 2015, we adopted a street light fee, which, while it's not in the transportation fund, a main reason for that fee was to give breathing room to the transportation fund, because previously the transportation fund paid for the electricity costs for all the streetlights. So that approximately $2 million that comes in is offsetting per year, is offsetting what otherwise would have been coming out of transportation fund. So I don't want to lose sight that we do have some, local fees that go towards our system.
No, that I did not know.
Can I just interject and say how much I appreciate the idea that local government needs to show up with money, and yet it's not local government money either. It's
Yeah.
all
I know.
taxpayer dollars.
I know, but that was just what I heard was some concerns from some legislators. And maybe it's probably from legislators who in their own jurisdictions have a gas tax, and so
Yes.
well, then everybody else should do it, so but I don't know, I can't read their minds.
Is there any, should we take any different action than advancing the policy statement and making sure that all of our counselors have it? And we could submit on behalf of the city a letter of support. Do you want to see any modification to that broad policy statement, or are we just going to rest where we are for now?
Does that have to be voted on by full council, or does that just go forward based on this committee?
These policy statements are the ones that we have been using for this whole session, and so until there's a new version, this is the one that stands. So we're good to go with this unless we want to make changes. And also, we staff owe you committee an update to this that we haven't done yet. So like the policy OWE. I feel like staff, we had an initial conversation about these policy statements that could be sort of streamlined a little bit more, fine-tuned a little bit more, reflect some of the topics that were of interest in the last session. We always kind of kick the tires and refresh a bit, and we haven't done that yet. But that's a topic for when we get together in September.
We do have on our agenda the information report about this.
For the council agenda for Monday night, yes.
So my read is that we would be, based on our current adopted council policy statement, we would be okay with taking this, maybe having some bullet points that just sort of highlight our needs as they relate to this, and sending that out to the councilors without going to council for anything special. And similarly, I think if we wanted to write a letter that was, along those same lines, I think we could do that without specific council.
So the policy guidance exists.
Right.
So do you feel that should be, if there's anything added, bullet points, that should be in an addition to the meeting, or that it just gets added to the information report?
I don't
It really needs.
I'll take your lead. I feel like this is really solid direction for the circumstance that we're in.
Okay.
Which is, we don't know what's gonna happen between here and the next time we get together.
Any thoughts?
Oh, no, I was just, yeah, I just didn't know if this was changing, so.
I was asking if you all want to alter or change it. Cause if you do, then we would go to council with it.
I don't know if Counselor Nordike had any.
Yeah, I'm not hearing any recommendations from staff for change. I don't see any need for change. We already have an adopted policy statement. I think Julie's suggestions of just having some high level talking points, which doesn't change what our policy statement is. It merely summarizes it at an executive level, which is what a busy legislator is going to need. A busy legislator is going to be hearing a lot of information from different sources, and they have a very limited amount of time to get this done. So if there ever was a time for us to be concise, this would be that time. So I don't think you need full council direction at this point, because we're not asking them to change it. We're not asking them to change a darn thing. Our policy is the same. No one here is advocating for it to be any different.
Thank you, Counselor Nordike. I agree. Should we, can I just take a quick poll of staff and say you're fine with it, or because Julie's the one that's already done all the work?
And it may not appear like we're ready when you show up, but we have a really good.
It does
network
appear.
of,
It's good.
We, as staff, we have a really good,
You
network.
Yeah, all right, wonderful. I love the idea of bullet points that can be added, because to Counselor Nordike's point, bullet points can be just a rapid way to really say this is what we want. So I think that would be helpful if I were on the other end of receiving.
Excellent.
Good.
So we have our charge. If there's anything else you'd like to discuss, we stand ready. Not, we can do everything.
Sounds like, and that is, yeah, so sounds like that we're at the end of the meeting, if there's nothing else.
Nothing for me. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for joining. I shall adjourn our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
For an extra 15 minutes.
Okay.
Thanks, Julie.